Hidden behind steel doors lie the greatest stories the auto world forgot. From factory wars to near-death legends, this is Vaulted Wheels, unlocking the machines that built America.
All right, let's get right into it. This is an absolutely incredible story. It's all about rivalry, sheer genius, and a betrayal that just defines one of the world's most iconic car brands. So picture this. We're at a swanky cocktail party in London. It's 1931, and a casual, offhand conversation is about to completely shatter the world of the legendary car maker, W.O. Bentley. See, his wife, Audrey, is just trying to mingle, and she overhears this guy bragging about how his company just secretly snapped up a bankrupt rival. So Audrey, she rushes home to tell her husband this devastating news. And you have to understand, his life's work hadn't just been sold. No, in his own words, it was assassinated, taken out by a secret deal he never ever saw coming. So the big question is, right? How did a brand built on so much grit, so much victory, end up getting betrayed at a cocktail party? Well, to really get it, we've got to go back, way back to the beginning. Because see, W.O. Bentley, he wasn't some silver-spooned aristocrat. Not at all. He was what they called a premium apprentice. Basically, a grease monkey with coal dust under his fingernails and this deep, deep obsession with engineering. And his journey to greatness, it all kicks off during World War I with the simplest thing. He's in a French office and he sees an aluminum paperweight. Now, you got to remember, back then, engines were made of heavy, unreliable cast iron. And he has this light bulb moment, this revolutionary idea. What if I make the pistons out of lightweight aluminum? And believe me, that one simple idea, it changed everything. His new engine, the BR, built with those aluminum pistons, was a total game changer. It dramatically improved power and reliability, giving Allied pilots a really critical edge up there in the skies over Europe. And get this, he wasn't just some inventor sitting safely behind the lines. No way. He was right there on the front, personally supervising his engines. And it's during one of these visits that he has this absolutely terrifying brush with death, barely escaping an attack from the single most feared pilot of the entire war. Okay, so the war ends. W.O. Bentley's reputation as this engineering genius is totally cemented, from his work on aircraft. So what does he do next? He turns his attention to the road. It's 1919, and he founds Bentley Motors, aiming to create a whole new kind of legend. And his mission? It was simple, but man, was it ambitious. And it really defined everything that came after. See, he wasn't just building a way to get from A to B. He was building a statement. And these things, they weren't just cars. They were more like tanks built for speed. I mean, they were rugged, they were heavy, and they were built to survive literally anything. And that attracted this whole new breed of adrenaline junkie, wealthy playboys, ex-military daredevils, guys who just lived to race. And their success? It was absolutely staggering. We're talking about the Bentley boys. They didn't just compete at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which, by the way, is a race designed to just break cars and drivers. No, they utterly, completely dominated it. For years. This famous insult from their main rival, Ettore Bugatti, whose own cars were super light and delicate, it just perfectly captures what Bentley was all about. They weren't elegant, they weren't dainty, they were brutally fast, rugged as hell, and built to endure anything the track could possibly throw at them. But here's the thing. Even as Bentley is conquering the entire racing world, a kind of civil war is brewing right inside the company, a major conflict between the founder himself and his star driver. Yeah, so you have Sir Henry Tim Birkin, maybe the most famous of all the Bentley boys, and he starts clashing with W.O. over their whole engineering philosophy. Birkin, he wants to slap a supercharger on the engine, a blower, they called it. But W.O., he absolutely despised the idea. He felt it corrupted the purity of his engine design. So, did Birkin listen? Nope. He went right behind W.O.'s back, found a wealthy heiress named Dorothy Paget to fund the whole thing, and just built it anyway. And in doing so, he created this automotive icon that its own inventor saw as a fragile, unreliable, total corruption of his original vision. Crazy, right? Well, all this internal fighting, it pretty soon became completely irrelevant. Because then came the 1929 Wall Street crash. The whole market for expensive luxury cars was just wiped out overnight. And Bentley, which was already kind of struggling financially, was pushed right to the absolute brink. And that takeover by Rolls-Royce, let's be clear, it wasn't a rescue. It was an execution. It was the beginning of this long, dark period where that rugged, racing spirit of Bentley was just systematically erased. I mean, they closed the original factory at Cricklewood. W.O. Bentley himself was basically pushed out, forced to eventually leave the very company that had his name on it. That unique, brawny, powerful DNA of the brand, it just vanished. And look, you can see just how close the brand really came to totally disappearing. By the 1970s, Bentley was basically a ghost of its former self. Think about this. It accounted for less than 5% of the cars being produced. It was really just a brand in name only. But here's the amazing part. Even after decades of being suppressed, the soul of the brand just refused to die. So, in the 1980s, new owners, a company called Vickers, decided to take a bet. They bet on Bentley's dormant performance history, releasing cars like the Mulsanne Turbo. And you know what? Buyers responded immediately. It proved that the fighting spirit WO had baked into the brand was still there, just waiting to be unleashed. And this comeback, this incredible revival, it sets the stage for one of the most bizarre, high-stakes corporate showdowns in the history of the auto industry. A battle that would, finally, separate these two great rivals for good. So, flash forward to 1998. Volkswagen wins this massive bidding war, paying a whopping £430 million for the company. They think they've got it all, but they made a devastating mistake, a huge oversight. See, they bought the factory, they bought the workers, they bought the Bentley brand, but they forgot something. BMW had quietly, on the side, secured the rights to the Rolls-Royce name and logo for just $40 million. This incredible corporate blunder, it forced a split, and ironically, it was probably the best thing that could have ever happened. It finally freed Bentley from the shadow of its old rival, and it allowed it to be a true, unapologetic Bentley once again. So it really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? After a century of war and racing and betrayal, what truly defines a brand's soul? Is it just the name on the car, the factory where it's built? Or is it that unbreakable, grease-stained fighting spirit that its founder, W.O. Bentley, built into its very first engine?